Welcome to the Penny Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs. We are now into February. So another month down. Postseason is upon us on the high school level. Postseason for colleges is getting closer. We've had some big duels here this last week. And let's just go ahead and jump right into the biggest one of them all. You had number one versus number two out at State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State came away with a win over Iowa, 23-14. The Nittany Lions snapped Iowa's 15 dual win streak in front of 15,998 fans at the Bryce Jordan Center. And we were kind of talking about it beforehand. As big of a duel as it was kind of a snoozer for as far as action goes.
Yeah, I agree. The after the first two matches, there's weren't a whole lot of points that were put on the board, other than up to 97. But I mean, you had 33. The score is 4-1. Murin won. Was it on writing time or something like that? And then
Murin added a takedown late. To win 4-1 as well, but still the same.
Yeah, and then Seabrook's match was 3-2. Kennedy's match was a tiebreaker. Brand's was 2-1 on writing time. So I mean, there weren't very exciting matches in terms of a lot of action going on. Exciting because they were close, but it's just one of those meets that sometimes when you get those top level wrestlers, not a lot happens. They're a little bit cautious and they show a good defense. And sometimes you get a 2-1 match that's a great scramble, like the Seabrook match. Actually, 3-2 there was a lot going on there, but so that's not always the case. So
right, and the thing about those close matches, we talked about how 49 through 65 were going to be kind of toss-ups. But if you throw in 74 there, except for 57 with Haynes and Seabrecht, that one, there was some action at times, but 65, even though it was 2-1 in tiebreaker, there was never a point where I was like, oh, Facundo could score here, or, Kennedy's in bad shape. Just kind of figured that's how it was going to be. Right. There was never, the same thing with Brands and Starochi. That was 2-1, but there was never a point where I thought, oh, Brands is close to, Brands is in position to be able to win this or score a winning takedown. There's never anything like that in those two matches, and even in 97 and throwing heavyweight too. It was kind of strange that those matches, even though they were close and within a move of going the other way, there was never a point where I thought, yeah, the person who's behind was going to come back. Same with Murin at 49 and even Woods at 41. Even though those were close scores, never thought the other person really was a threat.
Right. Like you said, that one match with Seabrook, and then the rest were, Kennedy. I just think he won it on conditioning. He looked like he's in better shape, and he had great defense, shot defense, strong hips, and did a good job there. You heard a lot of complaining on the Iowa side regarding stall calls, but honestly, if that meet's held at Carver, Iowa's going to be out there going stall and get to and work those stall calls as well. So to me, that's the advantage of being at home, one way or another. Just having to be in College Park this year, but so you're going to have that, and I don't think it was out of order. the stalls were there. Some, they might have been helped a little bit with the crowd, but that's.
Well, Tom Brands kind of brought this up on his in his weekly media availability. I listened to it really quickly, so forgive me if I'm taking it out of context or misrepresenting it, but believe he was asked about that situation, kind of sitting on the ankle or whatever, kind of lacing through the ankle and that kind of being a stall ride. And, he kind of talked about how, there have been a series of different things that have popped up throughout the course of college wrestling, right? Certain moves or certain holds or certain strategies that have been kind of in and been effective. And then guess what? You kind of have to coach and, uh, coach and deal with it, for lack of a better term. And then all of a sudden that ends up going away because you've learned how to, to wrestle against it. And then you move on and something else pops up and you've got to address it. And so it's not like coaches haven't been, trying to address it. As far as, hey, you need to protect your ankle. This is, certain things that you need to do instead of, allowing them to do it. Right. So,
right.
if you don't like them doing it, find a way, don't let them do it.
It's called the evolution of the sport.
Yeah.
As the technique goes one direction, the defense, catches up to it. Like, for instance, where people saying DeSanto is stalling, he's stalling, or guys that were wrestling DeSanto are stalling, I should say, not DeSanto, because they put their arm behind the back to take away his tie up and his offense, so it's just the evolution of the sport. So anyway, that and I did like Coach Brands' comments towards people leaning towards freestyle, and he defended folk style, and I love that. You know what?
Yeah,
the United States is the best in the world right now. How can you say that? And actually, a lot of folk style or catch as catch can is being implemented into freestyle. That's given the Europeans a lot of trouble. So you can debate all you want, but please don't touch our folk style. Let us have our folk style.
Yeah. And the point that he's made this point multiple times because, it's not the first time this has kind of popped up because, people want to keep saying freestyle is more exciting, which technically, at times it can be, other times it's not. But he brings up the fact that you have an NCAA tournament that sold out in 19,000 seat arenas for 3 or 4 days, right? Every year. You go to Las Vegas in April and 3,000 seat arena is not sold out to watch some of the best in the entire world compete. Right?
Right.
So why would you dick around with something like that when you already see you have more popularity in what we have right now with folk style than when they graduate and they go to wrestle internationally than the following that they have. So why is that? Why would you want to change that? And I know he appreciates folk style, like you mentioned. We do too. It just, you kind of got to agree it doesn't make much sense to change that.
Right. And a lot of people are saying use the edge of the mat, or get the edge of the mat rule, implement that in a folk style that they have in freestyle. And to me, edge of the mat in freestyle and in Greco is a push out. It's like a sumo wrestling. It's like get an underhook and then just push, take your one, go back to the middle, get an underhook, push, and take your one. Gilman. He's a master at that. But as are many others, but to me, it's not as exciting. Give me some wrestling. And then you get out there and you get a guy that maybe gets a move on and does an exposure, stand up, match is over. Well, I don't see that being very fun and exciting. So
right. Yeah. So I don't think I just don't think that would benefit the sport the way a lot of people think it would. I think the majority of it is the connection through schools. That's where the popularity is. That's what's more attractive, and it's up to programs and schools and the NCAA to try to get more schools back into the fold, especially at the D1 level, for that popularity to grow and expand.
Absolutely. That uniform is so important. We've talked about this before. You think about Iowa, and I'm not knocking it or anything, but people cheer for the black and gold. They cheer. That's what they want to do. Or they cheer for the cardinal and gold for Iowa State, or the purple and gold for UNI. But in a lot of those instances, they're not necessarily even Iowa kids that are on the team. Pick a team, pick a sport, football, but whatever. You're just cheering for the Iowa, the University of Iowa, or whatever school you want to cheer for. And that's cool. That's all right. That's what sports are about. So
yeah, and that's where it's on the programs in the schools to really foster that growth. You know what? Have cool events. Have have special promotions, and then put an exciting, doesn't matter if it's folk style or what it is, put an exciting brand of wrestling on the mat. Have the Spencer Lees and the Parker Keckeisens, and the David Carrs or Younger Bastidas as the majority instead of the exceptions. You know what I mean? We want to see Taylor Lujan and Sammy Brooks and guys like that wrestling,
right,
where it's fun and exciting, and that's where you grow, and that's where you get better, because you can have those exciting matches in folk style. We've seen it. Yanni Diak, Mahalis, need those to be the majority over the exceptions, and that's how you grow.
Right, the Spencer Lees, for sure. And maybe this is a good segue, KJ, into the UNI Oklahoma State meet, because that one had some points and they put it on the board, and they weren't real close matches. I mean, there's some close matches, but they were still putting points on the board. Instead of 2-1, 3-2, you got 14-5, 8-1, 15-7, 5-4, 6-4, pins, 20-6, so you got some points that you're putting on the board, and it's exciting for the people in the stands there. So maybe that was the more exciting meet in the state this past weekend, or at least with their state schools. So anyway, I happen to lose that.
Yeah, let's compare really quick. Okay, so you had Spencer Lee that scored 18 points. You had Aaron Brooks that scored 22. Do you know what the highest point total after that in a match that wasn't decided by a pin? Because I think Roman Bravo Young might have had 10 or so, but you know what the highest point total for a winner outside of Spencer Lee and Aaron Brooks was in the Iowa-Penn State duel?
4 or 5? 4 points?
4.
4?
Do you know how many Panthers and Sooners, or not Sooners, Cowboys that scored more than 5 points for a win, or 5 points or more for a win?
Well, I'm looking at it. So 8.
Yeah.
I cheated.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that tells you, that 5-4 win by Real Buto. Then you had a 6-4 win by Holschlag, which, hey, how about Derek Holschlag and the way that he's wrestled this year? Another big win for him over number 10, Caden Gefeller. But other than that, it's Dustin Plott had 7. Dayton Fix scored 8 against Biscaglia. Carter Young scored 15, and him and Cale Happel combined for 22 total points. Goldhofer started out with a major decision with 14 points. Keckheisen scored 20 points and was trying to score at the end to get the tack, and just kind of missed out on that. Won by 14. That's the exciting, like you said, probably the most exciting duel of the weekend.
Right. I mean, and Keckheisen might be the most fun wrestler to watch of our 3 state schools. I mean, obviously Spencer Lee puts some points on the board. Keckheisen just goes after. David Carr puts points on the board, and Coleman this year too as well.
Sure.
And but that Keckheisen, he's so fun to watch, and I bet a lot of people have probably never seen him wrestle. So
yeah, it's
but your point is taken, that all the points that are on the board there, and even the last 2 matches that ended up 2-1 with the Cowboys and the Panthers. Wyatt Volker, it's exciting there because here's a true freshman wrestling, a pretty highly ranked, top 20 anyway, ranked wrestler, and goes 2-1 with him when the meet's on the line. Then you got Terrell Gordon, also wrestling another ranked wrestler that does a 3-2 match. And so, even though it's 3-2 with the meat on the line, every point you kind of get a little more stingy when that's the issue. So,
right. And Gordon had there's an instance where Gordon had like a little bit of a throw, but they were on the edge of the mat and ended up going out of bounds. I know Schwab after the meet said, wish we could have gotten that in the center. Might have been a little different, but there's still moments where, they were going for it.
Right. Gordon's improved to me a lot this year. He's a threat to be an All-American for sure, and hopefully a high placing one.
Yeah, that duel was right within UNI's grasp too. Kind of a unfortunate turn of events at 165 where Wyatt Sheets pinned Austin Yant. If that goes any other way, we're talking about UNI winning both, but
right.
Still a good performance from the Panthers.
Right. And he's the higher ranked wrestler, but I don't know why. Sheets must be having an off season or something. So he's been around forever and is a great wrestler. So I'm not surprised, but obviously the pin is what really hurt there. That's a match that they needed even to keep it close. If they keep it to a decision, UNI wins the duel. So that was very pivotal there.
UNI did bounce back with a win over Oklahoma, 23-12, after that 19-17 loss the night before. Kyle Biscaglia, Real Buto, Holschlag, Yant, Keckheisen, and then Noah Glazier back in at 197, all one. Keckheisen, Holschlag, Real Buto going 2-0 over the weekend.
Yeah, they had a good showing there, and we're still in limbo with whether Volker is he still has his red shirt, correct, with the new rule?
Right. That's only his first one, so he can still wrestle 3 more times and keep his red shirt. So we'll see how Coach Schwab and Wyatt and the staff handle that.
Okay, this is Briggs sitting from a long ways away, hoping that maybe if they need to, they use him for 1, 2, or 3 more times, but keep his red shirt on, because man, I think that there's such an upside to Wyatt Volker, and I don't know that he's ready to be an All-American yet this year. He's darn close, but I just don't know that he's quite there. And so if we keep that red shirt on and maybe get 4 more down the road, hopefully,
Yeah, and you can see what's the biggest growing pain for a true freshman at the college level? What position?
Usually it's down.
Yeah, and that's what he gave up. He gave up riding time, and that was the difference. Just had a hard time kind of getting out in that third period until it kind of got released. So yeah, get him 3 more matches, and then I don't know if his bump would be a tremendous difference when it comes to team scoring or anything like that. It's the Big 12s or the NCAAs. So get him some experience now, and then save that shirt for 4 more years.
Right. That'd be my hope, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yep. And Oklahoma State in Oklahoma also wrestled in Ames. Iowa State coming away with 2 wins there. Fairly dominant performance by them.
Yes, and I had some upsets in that match, or in those meets, I should say. With I'm kind of looking at some of the new Iowa State faces that have really shined this year, that stumbled a bit, especially in the Oklahoma meet. Swiderski at 141 and Johnson at 149, both lost, and that's Swiderski's. He's a handful. So there was a team point deduction after that match. I'm not sure what, but anyway, then so my point is that kind of Johnson, man, he on top of the world, and then loses to a non-ranked wrestler, or at least not a real highly ranked, I don't think.
Right, with Wiley 6-4, couple close ones. Probably never want to make excuses, but maybe hope maybe there's something. Younger Bastida didn't wrestle either. Is you think Redding is the 33-pounder now to go to, or is he just filling in for IHSAA?
I thought he was at the beginning. Then I thought it went the other way, and now it seems like it's back again. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a case of who's healthiest, So
So I wonder if maybe a lot of teams have been kind of dealing with illnesses and stuff this time of year, so maybe that's something that came into play with Swiderski and Johnson, just because those were 2 losses I really were surprised about.
Yeah. And so I don't know, on the other side, Skyler, I believe it's Skyler, isn't it? At heavyweight, beat Heinzelman in the Oklahoma meet, pretty highly ranked wrestler there, and so there's a plus side for the Cyclones in terms of that. So nice win there. Carr just keeps being Carr, and Coleman got a pin and over Keegan Moore. Keegan Moore had a tough. He had a handful this with his trip in. He had to wrestle guys in Coleman. So
Coleman and Kukheisen, yep.
Yeah, but anyway, so with the Oklahoma meet, 25-12, Iowa State dominated Oklahoma, of course, but had a couple of matches that I'm sure they're walking away going, we didn't perform. So anyway.
They followed that up with an 18-11 win over the Cowboys on Sunday afternoon. Want to give a little bit of a shout out to Caleb Fesley. 125 stepping in, beating Zach Blankenship 10-4. Fesley, former CPU prep here, kind of in a being called on after Tarakina and Kabamban being hurt. and he gets a win against a marquee program. That's got to be pretty cool.
Right, fun to see a local guy do well, and I need to correct myself. The Swiderski unsportsmanlike was in the Oklahoma State meet, not the Oklahoma meet, but nevertheless. Anyway, then so Swiderski went 0-2 this weekend, which I don't think he was very keen on. He didn't like that very well.
Yeah,
but
some frustration may have set in there.
Right, the marquee match in that meet probably was David Carr and Wyatt Sheets, which Carr won 5-3. But that, like I said, that Sheets I mean, he's ranked pretty low compared to where he's been in the last few years. So,
and we know what he's. We certainly know what he's capable of. That's for sure. He's a quality guy.
Right.
And then younger Bastidas actually did wrestle in the Okie State meet, where Iowa State won the final 3 matches. You know, that was kind of big. So they were able to close things out there. You know, they let's see, they improved to 12-2 overall. 5-0 in the conference. And see, they have West Virginia and Pitt this weekend. So they'll go to West Virginia for a Big 12 duel on Friday, and then at Pitt on Saturday to get a non-conference duel in before the big one next week at Cedar Falls.
I'm looking forward already to that Iowa State UNI meet.
And UNI, they have Cal Baptist at home on Friday, and then they head to Morgantown, West Virginia on Sunday. So that's what they have coming up. Iowa has a trip to Minnesota this Friday before hosting Michigan on the 10th, same night as Iowa State. Minnesota's ranked 12th. So Iowa looking to get back on top there. Patrick Kennedy heading back home. You know, just not a lot really to kind of look at with Minnesota. There's not a ton there. You do have Michael Blockus at 149 still competing. More than likely he'll face Max Murin. You know, then at 184, you know, IHSAA wasn't at Penn State. You know, they had to bump up Drake Rhodes right now. 184 is to be decided. So we'll see what they do there. And then Brody Teskey, who gave up kind of that big pin to Roman Bravo Young, he's listed either or at 133. So his return to State College didn't go real well, and we'll see if he gets back on track and gets the call against Minnesota on Friday. Speaking of Minnesota, there's a Minnesota team that came down to Iowa on Thursday for a marquee duel, the Battle of the Bergs. Thursday in Waverly between Augsburg and Wartburg. And the Knights kind of they didn't necessarily lose to Augsburg, but finished behind them at the national duels. And Wartburg had much better fortune on Thursday than they did in Louisville.
Right. And you know, I'm going to be candid and honest here. I don't know how Wartburg didn't win the dual championship. They got beat by Johnson and Wales, and then Johnson and Wales got pounded by Augsburg, and then of course they were able to turn it around this weekend or this last Thursday, and but they were doing some fiddling again with their lineup, and that's probably what cost it. But now that they've got that under control, they've got their wrestlers bodies back up to their weights, and they were able to perform. Chris Rump was a takedown machine and really turned it around there, as did Joe Pins. So a lot going on there behind the scenes that they've got settled. So.
All right. Any other things from the college level that
quickly, D3 at the
Mhm.
Pete Wilson Invitational, Cornell finished 10th out of 31 teams. Again, Gabe Smith at 157 out of Washington, the state of Washington, the coaches of Ohio freshman, took second. And then the fifth or sixth year or whatever he is, Casey Allen, 165 took fourth. Loris and Co did not wrestle. Luther beat UD 28-12. And next up this week, Thursday it's Central is at Luther, and then UD is at Loris, Wartburg's at Co, and UD, Loris, and Wartburg Co are Friday, and then on Saturday UD has their which UD and Cornell will be at for D3. D2, KJ Upper Iowa, number 10 Upper Iowa ventured up north, and they beat Minot State 28-7 on Friday, and then lost to number 14 University of Mary. It was really a great team. They're just really, in the last couple of years, have impressed me. They lost 18-12 to Mary on Saturday, and they've got a chore coming up. They've got number 5 St. Cloud State, which I'm not sure how they're number 5. I think they're better than that. And then number 7 UW Parkside on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for them coming up with those two duels.
Right.
And then they'll only have one other duel before the super regionals. So this is a big test, and then they'll have a little break before they face Minnesota State on February 17th, and then it's the postseason. So Keith Grimm will get a nice gauge of where the Peacocks are at here this weekend, kind of approaching crunch time.
Right. That's tough. They will have wrestled number 14, number 5, and number 7 in their last 3 duels. Or the last duel in their next 2. So that's good competition.
All right. Well, let's switch gears here to high school. We're in a really key time for high school. The girls' postseason is underway. We're approaching the state tournament. Starts tomorrow. This is being recorded on Wednesday. So state tournament Thursday and Friday. Regionals were last Friday. Huge turnout for the regional meets. 1,307 wrestlers participated in the 8 regionals at 4 sites across the state. It was frenzied and chaotic, but this first go round for state qualifiers, I think turned out pretty decently.
Right, and with those numbers, I'm going to guess that next year, maybe you've heard something that I haven't heard, but this is totally a guess, that they're going to go to 2 classes, maybe. It might have to.
I think that is something being discussed. That is something that's kind of one of the things that they'll be looking to adjust.
Well, if you'll remember, you probably can't remember, but I can. Way back in the early 60s.
I knew where you were going with it, but
when I was a young tot, there was only 1 class of boys wrestling for I don't know how many years, and then it became 2 classes, and then of course 3 classes. So anyway, there actually used to be 1 class in college too, if you remember that.
Yes, and that's when Cornell College actually was a national champ at that time too.
And eventually the Panthers too, right? Well,
yep.
They might have been. It might have been later. I don't remember now. But oh no, I don't think they won it till they were Division II, did we?
I'd have to look that up, but
yeah. Anyway,
there might have been a time with Coach Cole and when it was Iowa State Teachers College. But I'm not sure. We'd have to look that up and see. On Friday, obviously, I was at the regionals in Cedar Rapids. That's where they had about 360 wrestlers in the two regions that they had, regions 5 and 6. In region 6, it was Bettendorf that came away with a team title. Linmar was second. Both of them advancing 6 wrestlers to the state tournament, as well as West Liberty. Then you had Independence that had 5. Mid Prairie had 5 moving forward out of that region as well. So good showings there. Cedar Rapids Jefferson, Cedar Rapids Kennedy had 1 and 2 qualifiers each. Mount Vernon had 3. So a good showing there. The one that I really want to kind of talk about really quick, and I've kind of beaten this dead horse a little since Friday, but you had Waverly Shell Rock coming away with a team title in Region 6. They advanced 9 wrestlers. Runner-up was East Buck, who, kind of went back and forth in the team lead with Waverly Shell Rock. The thing that I find amazing is how many other sports do you see teams being able to compete with such a diverse number of enrollment number or different size schools like that, where Waverly Shell Rock, their beds document number is like 586. So that's the 9 through 11th grade enrollment from the previous year, and East Buck is 147, and yet they're going toe to toe. East Buck, I think I mentioned, had 8 qualifiers, 3 champs, which was more than Waverly Shell Rock, and just a really strong performance from East Buchanan.
And maybe you mentioned this, but I'm not sure. Also, Anamosa had 8 qualifiers, didn't they? In which were they in 5 or were they in 6? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Anamosa was actually up in Decorah. They were either in 7 or 8.
Oh, they're running. Okay, my fault.
Yeah.
So there's another small school that with big numbers coming into this. So you're right. In my mind, I'm going, what's cool? Or what sport would allow that? Maybe none of them really do allow it because they don't really compete against each other at the state level. Maybe if they were to cross country, maybe if they were to put them all together, I don't know. Golf
could be. Yeah, you had some really. I don't know if golf would. I mean, there are some teams from like Washington, Iowa that were pretty good. That might compete. Maybe some of the small classes. Cross country was a really good one because Mid Prairie's had some outstanding teams. Monticello, some outstanding teams that could be considered some of the best in the state the years that they won it. Track maybe.
You remember we're getting off the subject here, but what's the girls, the sisters from Mid Prairie that have done so well and won so many state titles? I'm forgetting as well. But anyways.
Yeah. I'll ask Jeff Linder and answer that question next week.
Oxtetler.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you, Nathan Ford.
Well, just to break down here, so the top qualifiers for the girls' state tournament, we kind of hit on some of them already, but Decorah came away with a team title on Friday, and they advanced 10. That's your leader out of the gate. They have 10 qualifiers. Cedar Falls, which won one of the regionals over in Des Moines at the Iowa Event Center, they advanced 9. We've watched them compete this year. strong showing by the Tigers, and they match Waverly Shell Rock with 9 qualifiers. Ankeny, Council Bluffs, Lewis Central, East Buchanan, and Osage all qualified 8. And then Anamosa, Dallas Center Grimes, Mason City, Southeast Polk, and Spencer qualified 7. I know Ridgeview qualified 7 originally, but I believe one of their wrestlers is injured and they were subbed out, so they dropped down to 6. As far as area qualifiers, we kind of mentioned, Decorah, East Buck, and Anamosa. Linmar had 6. West Liberty also had 6. Garcia Vasquez sisters. They both won titles. Linmar received titles, I believe, from Kate Seary. And then Haley Seatram and Trinity Young and Allie Jelinek. So 4 of their 6 qualifiers won regional titles. I know Allie Jelinek has been kind of the most experienced wrestler of that group, but Seatram and Trinity Young, they're first-year wrestlers. So that's going to be exciting. And then Kate Seary wrestled a little bit when she was in 7th grade. Decided to come out this year as a freshman. Thing kind of notable about that, her dad, Kelly Seary, is from New Hampton. I believe wrestled at Wartburg. Has been an assistant coach at Prairie and Linmar here in the Metro. He was in her corner. He's been an assistant for Mike Gears in the Linmar girls program this season. And talking to her afterwards, she was like a lot of coaches' kids, always going to tournaments or meets and kind of there, by dad's side. Loved wrestling from the get-go. Loved kind of following dad around to those events, and kind of special that she wins the regional title as a freshman with her dad in her corner. So that was pretty cool. And the other thing about Linmar too is the neat thing is seeing the boys' support of the girls' program. Kate Nakaborn was actually in a corner with Kelly Seary during Kate Seary's matches. I thought I saw a picture on Twitter where the boys program was actually helping with the door banners and stuff like that for the girls state qualifiers. So that's I think that's pretty awesome to see that support between the two programs.
That is neat. We've got to observe the girls kind of do the reciprocal to the boys at some of the duels as well there. Coach Gears has got it rolling there, and congratulations to those 4 champs and the other 2 qualifiers.
Yep. And then Cedar Rapids, Prairie, Independence, Mid Prairie, Vinton, Shellsburg, and Western Dubuque all had 5 qualifiers. Prairie led by Mackenzie Childers, who not only remained unbeaten, one of 15 unbeaten wrestlers in the girls' state field, but she came away with one of 2 titles, joining Maya Roush atop the award stand there at regionals. Childers is going to be the top seed at 125 for the tournament going forward. So congrats to her. And then Vinton Shellsburg, they had 5 qualifiers, and of course they were able to come away with I believe 2 champions in Reese Swenson and Chloe Sanders. Sanders, the number 2 seed at 130 going into this weekend.
And I don't know. I'm guessing that's Cooper's sister, correct?
I believe so. Yep.
Yes.
Cooper and Gabe. Remember Gabe last year for
last year. Yeah, sorry, Gabe. I was thinking this year, but yeah. So no surprise in that instance, I guess. But one tough family on the mat.
Yep. And I mentioned there are 15 unbeaten wrestlers that are entering the tournament. Kind of mention them here. Kate Biscaglia, you recognize that name with Raccoon River Northwest. She's 41-0 at 100 pounds. Then you have the monster Jillian Worthen of Union Community, sophomore. She's 23-0 at 105. And I'll have a feature of her posted later today in Thursday's paper. Just about kind of where she got that nickname, what she's kind of done for girls wrestling, because she is really kind of taking it upon herself to try to get girls program or women's program started at UNI, and really would like to see the sport grow at the D1 level. So she's kind of showing some leadership there to help girls wrestling grow while she's competing. Then you have Jalen Goodell at 110. She's 30-0 for Osage. Jasmine Lukey. She's also undefeated at 110 pounds from Atumwa. She's 28-0. Of course, those two are 1-2 in the seedings in that bracket. Then you have Molly Allen, who transferred from Underwood to Oakland Riverside. She's a sophomore, 26-0 at 115. We mentioned Mackenzie Childers of Prairie. She's 44-0 at 125. Then you have Lily Luft Tough, right? From Charles City. She's a senior, 35-0 at 130. She's joined by Colby Tenborg, a freshman from Sadell, who's 21-0 at 130. Some Waverly folks will recognize this name, Kiara DiGiamessi. She's 43-0 from Waverly Shell Rock, a junior at 140. Then you have Emma Peach, a sophomore. She was one of the wrestlers like Worthen that won an IWCOA title last year. Iowa Valley sophomores, 34-0 at 145. Then you've got probably one of the top wrestlers, along with Naomi Simon, but Skylar Slade, a freshman from Southeast Polk. She's 44-0 at 155. Nicole Olson of Missouri Valley, a junior, 30-0 at 155 as well. I mentioned Naomi Simon of Decorah, the juniors, 32-0 at 170, highly ranked wrestler nationally. And then Avery Whitcop of West Marshall, the juniors, 27-0 at 170. And then heavyweight 235-pounder Olivia Huckfelt, junior from Spencer, is 40-0, top ranked there, and a favorite to win that title. But a really strong field here in this historic event.
Right, and it gets started at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, or Thursday morning. Yeah.
Yep. There'll be 2 sessions each day. The first one begins, like you said, at 9 o'clock, and then I'm trying to, I think maybe 5 o'clock for the second session. Each night as well. Yes, 5 to 9. So the first round and second round with first round wrestlebacks will be in that first session on Thursday. The second session, as we mentioned, starting at 5, will consist of the quarterfinals, the second and third round wrestlebacks. On Friday morning, starting at 9, you'll have the semifinals, and then rest of the consolation rounds until the 7th place matches. And then the championship session will be from 6 to 9 o'clock on Friday night. You'll have awards in the Grand March, and then your championship 3rd place and 5th place matches Friday night at that point.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, it's a 32-person bracket. That's, that's big. That's bigger than
Yeah.
the boys will be. Boys are going to be 24 this year, and that's increasing it by 8. So 32, that's interesting. And then also, it's my guess that finals will be spectacular because the girls union has shown that they're not holding anything back. They got the big arenas and for the regionals and they like to put on a show. So that's gonna be kind of fun, I think. So on Saturday night.
Yeah, and the thing too, I trust me, I appreciate the association. I appreciate the association and all that they do. But I'm just kind of going through things, and it's a really short turnaround and a lot of stuff going on this week because you also have state duels. But the breakdown of what the girls union were able to provide, how quickly they're able to provide it. I mean, really, much better than the association has ever done. With making things, and of course, I'm being selfish, media friendly. But they have really kind of they have really focused on making sure this is a successful season from many different angles. Um, from the experience for the athletes and coaches to helping out with coverage, to make sure the attention and the spotlight is where it needs to be for the athletes and those involved in this this inaugural year.
Right. And in defense of the boys association, the Iowa high school wrestling state tournament is the best and the biggest state tournament in the nation. And so that being said, you're going to have a full house at Wells Fargo. Most of the sessions and certainly the final session is sold out ahead of time every year. And so
for sure,
in their defense, they have a great product.
They just could be a little more media friendly.
Agreed. So
no, but they do a great job. No doubt about it. And the girls union, obviously there are things to tweak and things to improve on and adjust, and talking to Aaron, exchanging messages with Aaron Kirtley. They certainly are on top of that, and they're already looking forward to, they're already having discussions about what to change and how to adapt and adjust and improve and all those things. So, good first year, good baseline to this season and this upcoming tournament, I'm sure, and look forward to seeing how that kind of builds on from there.
Right. And you mentioned the state duels, but what you didn't mention is it's the boys' state duels. The girls don't state duels. So that is also on Saturday, or that is Saturday, also in the
Xtream Arena.
Geez, sorry.
Yeah, we have regional duels on Tuesday night, where the field was set, and really for the most part, looking at the qualifiers and the scores, not a lot of surprises, I guess you would say. For the most part, the majority of the top 8, or the top teams that received buys and were in the regional final moved on, except for really 2 exceptions.
Right, and you were in attendance at one of them, so give us some of the highlights there, man.
Yeah, I was at Linn-Mar, and they wrestled Dubuque Hempstead in the regional final. Hempstead kind of did away with Fort Madison in the opening duel. They won that 54-27, setting up the regional final with the Lions. Hempstead ranked 11th, Linn-Mar ranked 7th. And this was kind of a, well, I'll just say that we kind of started with the coin flip. I know Doug Stryker kind of dismissed it and said they still had a chance. The coin flip wasn't the biggest thing. But what that did was it allowed Hempstead, they won the coin flip. They went odd matches for their reporting. And it allowed them to kind of move their lineup around and adjust things. They were able to avoid some of Linmar's top ranked guys like Tate and Kane Notgaborn, Braden Park. Those guys received forfeits, and then they were able to neutralize that with 5 pins, moving people around. Like Joseph Lewis moved up to heavyweight. I think they moved some guys in the middle of the lineup as well, and they came away with a 36-34 victory to knock off Linmar. It came down to the very last match. Grant Crest got a pin at 170, moved all the way up to 170, got a pin for Linmar that pulled them within 36-31. So Linmar was in a pin to win situation. Landon Bush fell into an early 4-0 hole, gave up 2 takedowns and 2 near fall before he came back, got a takedown and right out in the third period. Wasn't able to get a turn and get a pin, but he did tie it and force sudden victory, which, go feet to back. Linmar still had a chance, but Hempstead kind of surrendered the winning takedown, lost by a decision, which of course sealed the victory, 36-34 for them. And Hempstead's third trip to the state duels, and all of them coming since 2016. So good for Hempstead there.
So
coming away with a victory.
You're saying that Hempstead conceded the takedown and sudden victory to win the duel.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And it's because of feet in sudden victory, the first point scored, the winner wins the match, and the match is over, unless it goes straight to the back, feet to back.
right.
And so that was the opportunity Linmar still had, even though they had not been able to do that in the first. Bushman had not been able to do that in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, and Bushman originally tried to stay out front and avoid getting just the takedown. Try to get kind of like a cradle to go straight over, but wasn't able to do that and just pretty much got the takedown. The only way he really would have been able to do anything, maybe kind of stay out front with like a cow catcher or a whip over, kind of the way that things were being conceded. Maybe, get to a front headlock and try a cement mixer or something like that. That would have been maybe the only way to avoid just getting to and being able to do that once, they kind of Hempstead shot and kind of stayed on the mat.
And it seems like if that's the case, you have a short amount of time to do that before the Hempstead wrestler gets called for stalling and ends the match that way too. So
yeah, because he had already given up a penalty point regulation for stalling.
Gotcha.
So only 1 penalty point would have ended it as well. So
strategy. Okay.
Yeah. So it worked out well. And they, like I said, their first trip since 2018, I believe. So Hempstead kind of pulled the upset. Chuck Haas, you can kind of feel kind of the emotion in his voice afterwards. He said this might be the biggest dual win that they've ever had. Talked about how much he respects Coach Stryker and the Linmar staff and program, and that this is the first time that they've so the other 2 times that they qualified, they were seeded in the top 8. They were a top 8 team, so they were expected to go on, right? But this was the first time that they won a regional dual final being kind of that underdog a little bit. And, I think a lot of people kind of have Linmar, kind of consider, even though they're ranked 7th, I think a lot of people kind of consider Linmar maybe more of a top 5 team. So that was a big win for Hempstead.
Right. Well, congratulations to Coach Haas and his wrestlers and his coaching staff there, and Coach Stryker's. He's going to need to get focused here on individual because they've got a great opportunity to do well and bring home a trophy there as well. So that's a quality program that Hempstead was able to beat last night. So sure. Good win for them.
For sure. The other qualifiers in 3A, like I said, no surprises here. Southeast Polk, number 2 Waverly Shell Rock, who beat Prairie in the regional duel finals. Prairie beat Western Dubuque in the semifinal in that grouping. But Waverly Shell Rock advances. You got number 3 Bettendorf, number 4 Ankeny, number 5 West Des Moines Valley, number 6 Ankeny Centennial, who I believe won on criteria over Carlisle, in a duel that might have gone all the way to like criteria F. Does that sound like total first match points?
Wow.
Or something like that. And that went in favor of the Jaguars. Number 8 Fort Dodge advanced, as well as the Mustangs. In Class 2A, that went according to seeds pretty much. Number 9 Williamsburg advanced because Crestwood actually went to number 7 Webster City, who beat Crestwood on a duel that was decided in like the last 10 seconds of the final match as well. So good battle there between Webster City and Crestwood, and the Lynx advance. So we've got number 1 Osage, number 2 West Delaware, number 3 Sergeant Bluff Luton, number 4 Mount Vernon, which is making its first appearance since 2005. You got number 5 Creston, number 6 Humboldt, mentioned Webster City, and then number 9 Williamsburg, who was a host, and they won on criteria against West Burlington Notre Dame. I believe that the difference there for the point was based on forfeits, right?
That'd be an early one, yeah. Probably criteria number 3 or something like that.
Yep, and that gave Williamsburg a 41-40 win with the criteria point. The only other upset, the one that would be considered bigger, I guess, but not really. Number 12 Hinton beat number 9 Woodbury Central out west. So Hinton joins number 1 Don Bosco, 2 Wilton, 3 Alburnett, 4 Nashua Plainfield, Wapsie Valley, Ebbetsburg, and Logan Magnolia.
I have to tell you, I have never heard of Hinton before. That's very bad. So 1A, and it's way out west. I just have never, ever ran into them. So congratulations to them. They'll have Don Bosco right off the bat. Wilton's number 2, like you said. They'll have Logan Magnolia at number 7. Alburnett's number 3, and they'll have Emmetsburg. And in 2A, Williamsburg draws number 1 Osage, Mount Vernon, and Creston for that 4 and 5. And then West Delaware has Webster City. And then 3A, Dubuque Hempstead with their win gets number 1 Southeast Polk. And then other area, Waverly Shell Rock has Ankeny. So kind of the local teams and who they have.
Yeah, so that action will start Saturday at 9 o'clock. You'll have the quarterfinals at 9 and 11. Then you'll have the semifinals after that. Second session starts at 6 o'clock, where you'll have the 5th and 7th place matches in all 3 classes. And then at 8 p.m. Saturday, you'll have the championship and 3rd place duels going on there at Xtream Arena in Coralville. So a big 3-day event with the 2-day girls tournament, followed by the boys state duels at Xtream Arena. So looking forward to that competition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think teams will and coaches will put out their full lineups now, and since it's not the day before the traditional state, so it's going to be fun to see that.
Right. Just very quickly to touch on last week's conference championships. Speaking of Lidmar, they came away with their second straight MVC crown. They scored 233 points, and they beat Cedar Rapids Prairie. Prairie with a runner-up finish, just 19 points back of the Lions. Linmar had titles from Malik DeBow at 113, Kane Nocturborn at 138, Grant Cress at 152. Nate Fish, Braden Park, and Tate Nocturborn were runners up. And Linmar had 12 medalists overall. And I believe had 10 maybe, 9 or 10 that finished sixth or better out of that group. Or maybe all 12 finished sixth or better there. Of course, the kind of the marquee matchup in the MVC, you had Gabe Arnold of Iowa City High, ranked number 1, versus Tate Nocturborn of Linmar. Their third meeting, and just like the other two, it went in favor of Gabe Arnold. However, this one the closest. Each match has gotten closer. This one was 3-2 in favor of Arnold after tiebreaker won overtime, getting a reversal instead of an escape there in his 30 seconds. And that was the difference.
Right. And some might say Tate Nocturborn is closing the gap there. And it's always difficult to be the guy 3 times in a row, and now maybe 4 times in a row in the state championship. So,
right.
You know, if they both make it to the finals, I'm assuming they'll be seeded 1 and 2. And then,
yeah, I would think.
So, yeah, assuming they make it, but who knows after last year's seeds?
Yeah, right.
So.
That's a good point. I was at Independence for the finals of the WAMAC. West Delaware came around, I believe, came away with their 5th or 6th straight WAMAC conference championship. They had 2 champs. One in Braden Mowry at 113. He top Clear Creek of man is Kale Nash, 4-0. And then trying to see who their other champion was.
For West Delaware was Yankovic.
Brent Yankovic, who I wrote about. How did I blank on that? But the interesting thing with Brent Yankovic is he actually bumped up to 160 to try to help their team. Logan Payton was out, and he moved up to 160 and won by fall in the finals after kind of building a 9-0 lead, and really helped West Delaware there. Mount Vernon Williamsburg crowned 3 champs apiece. Jace and Jackson Jaspers and Henry Ryan all won titles for Mount Vernon. As we mentioned, they're going on to the state duels as well with that win over Assumption. But those 3, not only did they win, but they posted major decisions in their championship match. So dominant days for them. And of course, Williamsburg, their 3 champs, all had big wins in the finals. Lincoln Trop beat Mount Vernon's number 8 Clayton Perot 9-7 to win at 106, and then one of the top matchups in the finals, Number 3, Gavin Jensen of Williamsburg beat number 4, Carson Less of West Delaware 3-1, a takedown in sudden victory. They're in a battle of highly ranked wrestlers. And then Niall Sin. Niall Sin came away with a 6-5 victory. Had 2 first period takedowns, had another one in the third, and he beat number 7, Carson Turnus of West Delaware in the finals. So good showing from them. One of the other finals of note, Independence, which was host, they had 2 champs, and one of them was heavyweight Corver Hupke. Corver Hupke 2 days earlier had lost to top ranked Cam Gunther of West Delaware, and he reversed that, winning 6-4 in the finals.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was reversed again last night.
Yes, it was in the duel where West Delaware beat Independence in the regional final. Gunther avenged the loss that was avenged.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty good series. Those 2 teams faced each other for the most part 3 times in the matter of 5 or 6 days. So that was pretty cool. And 2 others of note to mention: South Tama had a pair of champs in Gavin Bridgewater, the state runner-up at for them. He won at 195 against number 5 Will Ward. He won 5-2. And then Rudy Papaki followed with a title at 220. He was dominant, won 11-1 in the finals over Grant Northberg of West Delaware. And I mentioned that because I had the privilege of wrestling, playing football with his dad, also named Rudy, at Cedar Rapids, Washington, many years ago. So it's kind of neat seeing a second generation guy like that come away with a conference title here his senior year. So
now is
that major decision, by the way, the major decision by Rudy boosted South Tama above Williamsburg for 4th in the final team standings. So that bonus point springboarded them into the top 4 behind West Delaware, Mount Vernon, and Indy.
So they were 4th in front of Williamsburg by half a point.
Half a point.
Now, yep. Is it Rudy, Dad? Is he the coach?
No,
just okay.
No, just the dad. He was a state qualifier for Washington in 1994.
Remember?
So he was there in attendance. Saw him. But he's not a coach. And of course, I think if you remember, I think they had a cousin or an uncle named Tyrone Roberts.
Oh,
was a state champion for South Tama even before that, maybe early 90s or late 80s even. But pretty good family tradition there in wrestling. So
I was able to talk to Coach Voss from West Delaware on Sunday. He was down at the tournament at the Powerhouse, and he said that with the threat of snow and being able to run 5 mats at Independence, that they were done by, I think he said about 2-ish or something like that. And he said it didn't feel like a conference tournament. It was so quick and ran through so fast.
I will say this. They really wanted to get people out. And like you said, it was run really fast. This is the first time I ever remember driving home in daylight after covering a tournament, writing and filing my story from the site, and still being able to drive home with daylight. That's how quick the tournament went on Saturday.
And have supper with your family.
Yeah.
Now I was at the MVC, and it was quite the opposite. We didn't finish until 6:30, jump in the car, drive through that snow and yuck, and get home later. So it was pretty dark when I was driving.
Yeah, I just looked this up. Tyrone Roberts was a state champ in 1989 at 190 pounds or 189 pounds in class 2A. And of course, the reason why I mentioned that, maybe that was in 1989. I thought you had a state champ in oh, you did, Mark Chase
And
and Matt Orton, both in 1989. And then the following year, you had a 189-pound champion, Jeff Horrock, in class today.
and
So,
and also Ali Igram.
Ollie Igram was in 1990 as well. Okay. Yeah, 125. Yeah. So back-to-back years with multiple state champs. And one of the 189-pounders. So that was big. Okay, back on track here, just really quick. Wilton dominated the River Valley Conference. They scored 290 points, and Monticello was second with like 131. So Wilton more than doubling the second place team there. They had 8 champs. Monticello had a pair of champs in Cale Hansen, who remains unbeaten at 145. Dylan Monk at 197. Inamosa's Austin Scranton also came away with a title. He beat third-ranked Drake Collins of West Liberty 7-6 with a reversal and right out in the third. So,
yeah, Wilton, 8 champs, 2 runners up, 10 in the finals. They just ran away with it, obviously. And man, that's gonna be fun to watch them at the state tournament. They're a pretty good threat. I mean, Osage is pretty good, but I'm not, we'll see.
Don Bosco, yeah, with them and Don Bosco and
Don Bosco, my fault.
And Albernette.
That too, yeah.
There's going to be and you know what? I'm not sure if Nashville Plainfield has the overall balance, but those are top 4 teams in 1A that are going to be fun to watch.
Right. And if you thought 8 finalists, 10 finalists and 8 champs was good, I don't know if you looked at the MAC. We won't go into that too deep, but Bettendorf ran away with that 317.5 points with 10 champs, 3 thirds, and a 4th. So all 14 of theirs were in the top 4. 10 of them were champs. So
wow,
about that.
Pretty good showing. So big week coming up. With the girls' state tournament and state duels. A little bit of a break for the rest of the boys' teams as they get ready for districts on February 11th. But any other points or comments from last weekend, or what's kind of sitting in front of us?
Yeah, keep your hat on, KJ, because you're going to be all over the place. We appreciate what you do for sure. There's a ton of wrestling this weekend.
Are you going to be officiating at any of the events?
I'm actually helping with the weigh-ins at the girls tomorrow and Friday.
Awesome.
So, yep.
Awesome. We'll see you down there at Xtream Arena, and we hope to see a lot of you out there as well. Whether it's at the girls' state tournament or the state duels on the following day, should be a real fun 3-day series of events at Xtream Arena in Coralville. As always, just like to say thanks for watching us and follow along. Make sure to check out our content at thegazette.com. And as always, Coach, thank you for sharing your expertise and all you do for wrestling. And why don't you go ahead and take us out with our friends' words?
Let's keep wrestling on the move.